All right. Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
Morning.
All right. This is Yoshina Cobra Bradford with the South Metro Democratic Women. And again, we bring you just snippets or videos from candidates that are still in the running, from the runoff and those who will be in the election in November election. These are some very important elections, and we think it's very important that you get to know the candidates. Today we have Mrs. Franchesca Lane Warren, and we also have our interviewer, Mrs. Hattie Portis Jones. And we're gonna, as always, we always jump right into it. So we're gonna get started. We're gonna let Miss Hattie Portis Jones go ahead and get started with the interview and firing off some questions.
Well, hello everyone, and Ms. Warren, thank you so much for agreeing to chat with us, the South Metro Democratic Women. It is one of the purposes of our organization is to educate regarding candidates and the voting process. We are in a runoff election, and congratulations to you for being in the runoff. And I will say that we have invited your opponent. We are yet to hear from her. But the runoff election is August 11th, and early voting has begun today. So we wanted this opportunity to talk to both of you about who you are, why you're running, and quite frankly, why you should hold the position. So with that, why don't we begin with why are you running? You may introduce yourself and then tell us why you are running.
Thank you. My name is Franchesca Warren, and I'm a longtime South Fulton resident. I have 4 children in the system, and I'm an educator, and I've been an educator for 18 years. I'm running specifically because I feel like it's the time for our schools to really focus in on how we can leverage relationships and resources to help all of our schools be innovative. So many times parents come to me and they say, hey, I really would like this, or I'm really interested in this. And I think that I'm very thankful for the 25 years that Linda, Mrs. Bryant has been.
You're muted. All right, give us just a moment. Okay, go ahead and start back.
Okay. So I'm running because I have 4 kids in the system, and it's really important for me, for all of District 4, for all of South Fulton, for us to have strong schools. It's what our economy relies upon. It's what businesses look at when they come into our area. And so for me making sure that bringing my expertise as a longtime educator, as a community advocate, about 4 or 5 years ago, I founded South Fulton Parents for Education. And we've been really, really working to make sure there's a bridge between home and school on both sides. And so for me, it's a natural next step because everybody in the community wants their schools to be top notch. And we have some wonderful schools. We want to make sure that we're getting out the right message and the right support. So for me, it's really important that there's an educator on the board. And thanks to Linda Bryan, who's been on the board for 25 years, she decided not to run. But I want to make sure that the legacy of fighting for our children, fighting for our schools, fighting for our community continues.
With that being said, could you help us? A lot of us think we understand the role of the school board, but could you explain that to us, the board as a whole, and the you being the representative of a particular district, and how do you interconnect then with all of the districts that make up the school board?
Absolutely. So school board, they have a very intricate role in that they hire the superintendent and they also set policy. So a lot of people, they'll reach out to their board member when they have a school issue, which is fine. However, the school board directly works with the superintendent, hiring him and making sure that he or her have what's needed in the school. And so knowing that you set policy to do that, it's really important for people to understand that, we just had a conversation around should schools start remotely or should they start in person. Your board, even though they're not directly in making that decision, they make recommendations. If elected, I would represent District 4, which would be the Westlake cluster, which would be Winston Hughes cluster, and also Creekside cluster. So that is one of the biggest districts in Fulton County. And then I would work with the other board members. So in South Fulton, there are 2.5 board members, and North Fulton has 4.5 board members. And so it's really important that the next person who takes the board seat understands about building relationships, working across the aisle, because a lot of the things that you need to get done will take cooperation. And so for the last 4 years, in addition to South Fulton Parents for Education, we've been working with the North Fulton parents also and getting some things done so that we can have equity within the district.
So a couple of things that you've said that I'd like to follow up on. First of all, I am not familiar and I've not heard about the half district. So could you explain what that is?
Absolutely. So it is where Gilding, she's a school board member. She represents College Park, and she all parts of College Park, but she also represents Sandy Springs. And so she's split between those two. So that's where you get the 0.5. That she has some schools on the south side, and she has the majority of her schools on the north side.
And you also said that District 4, for which you are running for, is the largest district in the Fulton County schools. Is that large because of number of schools, because of the number of students, because of geographical location, or because of square miles? How is it the largest?
It's square miles. So geographically, when you look at the graphic, everybody always says, "Oh my gosh, I didn't realize District 4 was that big." And there's a lot of schools within that district, within District 4, but geographically, it is the largest.
So that means you have to do a lot of commuting to cover all of the schools in the district.
Absolutely.
That being said, then how have you already, and how would you, in the future, if you were to be elected, engage with the schools, move them to the next level, do it on top of what your predecessor has done, and in terms of moving the schools to the next level?
So it's going to take a community focus. And one of the things that I've been able to do within my time in South Fulton, and especially with the nonprofit South Fulton Parents for Education, we have over 3,000 parents, is that you have to get in the community. So that means PTA meetings, SGC meetings, HOA meetings, and really bridge the gap. Number one, you have a new board representative, because a lot of people have only known Linda Bryant because she's been there for 25 years. But then working those relationships to figure out not only what do parents want, what do schools want, and then bring them together. One of the things that we've been really lucky to do is, well before my run, we've spent just countless days in the community, not only working with parents, but creating programming for them. About 1.5 years ago, we really lobbied for, and when I say we, I mean South Fulton Parents for Education and myself, and the board that's coming with me, we lobbied for a health collaborative for the North parents. And so on our side, we were saying there's a lot of children, a lot of families who are having mental health issues, and we need to make sure that we give teachers and families and communities support. So that takes a lot of door knocking, calling people, reaching out to people who have resources so that we could get the ball running. And so it's going to take somebody on the ground. I have 4 children in the system, so it's also important that when I go, I take them, because what happens with my child is also what can happen to another person's child. So just going, showing up, and being there. So it's a large district, but it's not too large. You can't get to everybody. It's going to take a really coordinated calendar.
This district and the districts south of I-20, quite frankly, they are different than the districts to the north. What is your understanding of those differences, and how do you advocate for the equitableness of the districts? Equality is one thing, but equitableness is something else altogether different. So could you explain that?
Absolutely. When we look at the data historically of North and South Fulton, there has been a history of some of our schools not performing where they need to be. And one of the things that I tell people is that we have to figure out a way to engage parents authentically in what their kids do, but also looking at equitable things that need to happen. I'm going to give you an example. We spent a lot of time researching the historical inequities. And one of the things that we found is that per dollar, less money is spent in the South around building the buildings for our kids. And so one of the things that we met the school superintendent about 2 weeks ago is pushing an equity policy. And an equity policy goes beyond academics, but that looks at how our buildings built, how our resources are divvied up based on what kids need. And so that advocacy piece is very, very important because our parents, we have many parents who work. We have many parents who are not able to be stay-at-home moms. We also have some who are able to be stay-at-home parents, but making sure that we are bridging the gap. What East and West needs opposed to what Cliffordale Elementary School needs is totally different. But you have to be in the community understanding that, but also reaching out to people who live in the North and saying, how do you do X, Y, and Z? A good example would be when my kids were at Cliffordale Elementary School. We were really struggling on how do we make sure that kids have enough books that we can buy for them and put in their hands. And so talking with some moms up in North Fulton, we realized that they were doing 5Ks. And these 5Ks were bringing in thousands upon thousands of dollars. So my elementary and Wilford, we did these runs and we raised over $2,000 each for the schools. And so you have to get into the community and you have to understand what are other people doing and then how can we shift it for what fits down here, but also how can we think of different things that can happen that can help meet the equity. And I just think it's going to take some hard conversations, historical wise, but also what do we do in the future and looking at other districts that are similar to Fulton and what they did and how can we emulate that or make it our own.
So the municipalities, especially here in the South Metro area, Fulton County specifically, the school district is a separate governing body altogether. Municipalities have no say, quote unquote, in what goes on relative to the schools. But what goes on in the schools has a tremendous and huge impact on economic viability and thriving in a community. I have not heard you say that municipalities are partners or other governmental units are partners with you. What are your thoughts regarding that and how might they play a role?
Absolutely. So I always say this in that the community belongs to the school and the schools belong to the community. So the municipalities are included in that. And you can't just move the needle by just working exclusively with the school board. You know, we have Union City, we have Fairburn, we have Chattahoochee Hills, Palmetto, and City of South Fulton. And one of the things that I've been really proud about is reaching out to some of the council people and saying, in different municipalities, and saying, we need this, can you help? And I think what's going to take is building that relationship and seeing what their issues are, what are they seeing in their community, and then how can I help on the school side? Municipalities give a lot of money to schools. There's a lot of the money goes to schools. And I think even though they don't have a say in how the schools run, in order to have a strong community, you have to work together. And so if you're noticing in Fairburn, you're not really liking this, then it's my job as a board member to come to the city council meetings, meet with you guys, and then figure out a solution so that we can work together. Because it's for the kids and it's for the communities. And the stronger our communities are, the more that we are able to bring businesses to the community, the more the families are going to want to continue to be in the community. And so it is a wheel that keeps going. And if you are missing one wheel, it's not going to work right. And so just my work, and I really started working with municipalities about 3 years ago around. A lot of them were coming to us saying, some teenagers are not they were concerned with the amount of crime. And so we were really working with trying to make sure that we bring it's not only tutors, but mentors and linking people up. But also a bigger scale of that is trying to figure out what the schools were lacking in the municipality and then filling in that gap. It has been a process because, of course, there are a lot of students, there are a lot of needs, but as your board member, it would be a little easier because I would be able to get to the rooms and say, at East and West, what do you need?
It's called live TV.
So in addition to, you might say, in addition to East West being a STEM school, but, they're in really need of a new building. And so knowing that, what can we do with the upcoming slots? What can we do to make that a reality? So it's a process, but I think it's a process that's needed because our communities and our schools and our municipalities are so intertwined that we have to work as one.
Well, speaking of new schools, so Fairburn is very, very excited about the new STEM school, the name Global Impact.
Yeah.
And so talk a little bit about that, what your understanding of the school, its mission and its purpose, and more importantly, what are the qualifications for attending the school?
So Innovation Academy is going to be great because it is going to be a school that can really have the ability to help our kids get prepared for jobs that we don't even know are reality right now. The principal that they picked is very dynamic. He's worked in the South and the North. And so for me, I envision a place where kids are not only learning the basic academics, they're partnering with companies, with organizations. Kids are going on field trips. Kids are being a part of the community. They're going down to EC West, and they're working with those kids in Bear Creek middle school. So I envision a building, a school that really will be the hub of innovation in South Fulton. They just recently decided that the school is to be 9-12 opposed to 6-12. So that will give them a little bit more time to be very targeted. And so they're working on admission criteria right now. And the principal has hired his staff. And so it is going to be a building that will be able to rival the best of the STEM schools in the nation. And I'm so excited that Fairburn will have it, especially with the first of new construction down there. So I think that there is really a space for kids kids who want to be scientists, who want to be tech giants, for them to really push through and figure it out there. So it's going to be great.
Well, thank you for that. And we are very, very excited about that. And that opening is scheduled for next fall. Is that correct?
Absolutely.
Yes. You spoke earlier about parent involvement and engagement. Could you talk a little bit more about that? What you've done and what you continue to do and will do in the future to increase that participation? Because I know sometimes that is a challenging issue in our community.
Absolutely. So 4 years ago, I was a frustrated parent with I have a 12-year-old, 10-year-old, 5-year-old, and a 20-year-old. And they all are products of South Fulton schools. And I was frustrated because my 12-year-old was having some learning difficulties. And I remember being so frustrated that I was like, I need to talk to other parents in the district who are feeling this way. And so we started a South Fulton parents group. And it was simply like 5 or 6 parents. And over the course of 4 years, we've grown to over 3,000 parents. And one of the things that we've been able to do is that giving parents a space for like-minded parents and how we can strategize and support our schools. It was not an easy journey. When you're trying to support schools and when you're trying to change the tide, sometimes people don't like that. They don't like change. But what we found early on was that It doesn't take 300 parents to make a change. At every school, a small core group of parents do the work and get the changes. So for the last 4 years, and even before that, when my oldest son was in school, we're not only going to PTA meetings, SGC meetings, going to events, attending board meetings, writing opinion pieces in the AAC, but we've really been able to do a grassroots movement where we're knocking on doors, both virtually and in person, and saying, do you care about your school? If so, join this. And what we've also been able to do is that there are parents who don't feel supported in their school. They don't feel supported, and it could be for a myriad of reasons, through no fault of the school itself. We've been also able to find those parents and support them. And here's how you advocate for your children. Here's how you support your schools. So that community involvement is critical. Somebody was just talking to me, is actually a Fairburn resident. They said, I went to a PTA meeting and there was 3 parents there, and I was so frustrated. I said, one of the things that we have to do a better job of is actually getting into the HOA meetings, the principals, and having them come and speak to the HOA, but also hosting events in the so that parents feel a connection to the school. And, I'm a firm believer in old school where you go door to door, you knock on doors and say, we're having this event, we need you to come out. You partner with people so that you can do 2 events in one. You can wrap your arms around the majority of parents that you can get. And also engaging those parents that people think, won't be engaged is also parts of it. So asking them, what do you want for your children? And every parent wants the best for their child. So that has been the ability for us in the group, and that it is very safe for parents who are having issues to solve. And then when there is an issue, parents wrap around so that we can give that support. And a lot of that support is saying, guys, we're having this event, we need people to come out. How can we make this work? And brainstorming. And that's also a really, because I'm sure at the council meetings or at your community meetings, it's important that somebody from the school show up and give the school updates. So that you can, start to get interested and say, oh, wow, I didn't know you guys were doing that. How can I be a part of it? So it's all intertwined. So luckily, I've been working with the parents for a long time. They feel comfortable. Just as when we were talking about opening schools, it used to be where I would have to say to parents, you need to email your board member or call the superintendent. Parents were like, listen, we've already called, emailed, we went to board meetings, we spoke. And so we were able to say, we're going to not start school in person. It's going to be remote so that parents and communities feel safer.
Well, this is how time flies when you're obtaining a lot of information. And I hope that we can have this conversation in the future. Would you yes?
I was just going to say, we have about 8 minutes to wrap up. So I do want to just go ahead and thank Mrs. Hattie Portis for going ahead and being our interviewer. Thank you, Mrs. Franchesca Lane Warren, for coming on. But I do want to give you this time to go ahead and give us all the information. How can people get signs? What do you need? How do you get us to the polls? What help do you need from the citizens to get you in the chair? And once you're there, I guess just give us an overview of why it's important for you to get the seat in the next 6 minutes.
So you can find out everything about my campaign at www.electfranchesca.com. If you need a yard sign, if you want to make a donation, and if you want to canvass, we have been going to neighborhoods, knocking on doors, speaking with people, of course, people stepping back. Also, it's important. This is the year 2020, and I'm really big on giving kudos to our ancestors. So for 25 years, Linda Brown has been on the board, and she has served, and she has done her part in making sure that our schools are at a certain level. We are now, with her not running, we are at a pivotal time where we can bring somebody in who has currently has children in the system, who currently, I've worked as an educator, I've been administrative office, I've worked with superintendents, with associate superintendents, with teachers, I've presented nationally, I've written books on education. We have a chance to get somebody who is willing to do the work. Being a board member is not about, just saying I'm a board member. You need to have been working well before you decided to run. And so with me, you're getting somebody who currently has children in the system. So I experienced it from a kindergarten parent to a 5th grade parent to a 7th grade parent, and also to a parent who watched a child graduate from a South Fulton County school. And so it's important for everybody, number one, to get out and early vote, because if you don't early vote, we could get the debacle that happened on June 9th. And bring in your neighbor. A lot of people say, well, why should I care about the school system? I don't have kids in the school system. Schools directly impact your property value. So if you want to sell your property at top notch, you need top notch schools. And so I am the person that will not only advocate, but have tough conversations, but also be visible in the community and working with not only municipalities, but also businesses to make that a reality. It's going to take everybody. And I have the people skills, and I have the work ethic, and I have the most diverse job experience out of me and the other candidates. So a vote for me would be a vote for making sure that our schools get what they need, and also fighting hard to make sure that we have equity.
So thank you again, Ms. Warren. Really appreciate you taking the time to share with us your thoughts and your vision about serving on the Fulton County School Board. Please, everyone, as a reminder, again, early voting started today, but many of you automatically received absentee ballots. Please pull them out of the mail pile. Vote and then drop them off in the various drop boxes. Yeah. Here in Fairburn, there is one at the Fairburn Library, and there is also one at the South Fulton Service Center, which is also an early voting site. So please get out to vote. And thank you again, Ms. Warren. And
thank you.
Yes, thank you both. You all have a great day.
You too. Thank you.